In the vibrant streets of Chicago, the sun cast a warm glow over a dilapidated basketball court, where Darnell Carter, a gifted teenager, was showcasing his extraordinary skills. The sounds of the bouncing basketball echoed against the cracked pavement, mingling with the laughter and cheers of his friends. Darnell was in his element, dribbling the ball with finesse, weaving between imaginary defenders, and executing flawless layups that left his peers in awe. "Man, did you see that?" one of his friends exclaimed, clapping his hands in excitement. "Darnell, you're gonna be in the NBA one day." Darnell grinned, a fleeting moment of pride washing over him. "Thanks, but I still have a long way to go," he replied, wiping the sweat from his brow. His heart raced with the thrill of the game, and for a moment, he felt invincible. However, the euphoria was short-lived. As he prepared for another shot, shouts erupted from the far end of the court. Darnell turned to see two older boys, their faces twisted in anger, pushing and shoving each other. The atmosphere shifted abruptly, the playful energy replaced by tension. Darnell's friends began to back away, their earlier excitement fading into unease. "Hey, man, why don't you two take it somewhere else?" Darnell called out, trying to defuse the situation. "This is our court." The boys paid him no mind, their argument escalating into a full-blown scuffle. Darnell felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He knew the dangers of the neighborhood all too well. He had seen friends get caught in fights that went too far, and he didn't want to witness another senseless altercation. Just then, he noticed a figure standing across the street, watching the scene unfold. Ethan Mallory, a well-dressed millionaire, seeking solace from his grief. But instead, he found himself feeling increasingly out of place. Observing the world around him from a distance, Ethan's brow furrowed as he took in the chaos before him. He felt an overwhelming sense of helplessness. "What am I doing here?" he muttered to himself, remembering how he used to find joy in simple things before life took a tragic turn. The noise of the scuffle pulled him back to the present, and he instinctively reached for his phone, debating whether to call for help. Meanwhile, Darnell, concerned about the escalating fight, attempted to intervene. "Come on, guys. This isn't worth it," he shouted, stepping closer to the fray. Just as he made his move, one of the boys threw a punch that narrowly missed him, sending a jolt of adrenaline through his veins. He took a step back, heart racing, realizing the danger of the situation. Amidst the chaos, Darnell felt a vibration in his pocket. It was a message from his mother, reminding him of the weight on his shoulders. "Darnell, remember, we're counting on you. Your little brother looks up to you. Don't let us down," it read. The pressure was suffocating, but he couldn't let his family down. He promised himself he wouldn't disappoint them, no matter the obstacles in his way. "Darnell, let's go," one of his friends urged, pulling him away from the confrontation. Reluctantly, Darnell nodded, knowing that sometimes, walking away was the smarter choice. As he turned to leave, he caught Ethan's eye across the street. For a brief moment, their gazes locked, and in that instant, Darnell sensed a shared understanding of struggle and resilience, two souls navigating their respective battles in a world that seemed determined to keep them down. Ethan watched as Darnell walked away, his heart aching for the young man. He saw potential in Darnell, a spark of hope amidst despair. As the adrenaline faded and the fight dissipated, Ethan felt a stirring within himself. Perhaps it was time to step out of his own shadows and reach out, not just for his own healing, but to help someone else rise above the challenges they faced. Darnell stood at the edge of the basketball court, his heart racing as he prepared for the local tournament. The air was thick with excitement and the scent of popcorn wafted from nearby vendors. He could hear the echoes of cheers and jeers from the crowd, but it all faded into a dull roar as he focused on the game ahead. He had trained tirelessly for this moment, determined to make his mother proud and carve a path out of their struggling neighborhood. As Darnell joined his teammates, he caught sight of Marcus across the court, his rival and the self-proclaimed star of the area. Marcus was tall and athletic, with an arrogant smirk plastered across his face. Darnell felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He had always admired Marcus's skills but was painfully aware of the jealousy that simmered just beneath the surface. You think you can handle the pressure, Carter? Marcus taunted, his voice dripping with disdain. Just remember, you're not the only one who wants out of this dump. Darnell swallowed hard but refused to let Marcus's words penetrate his resolve. I'm not here to compete with you, Marcus, he replied, trying to keep his tone steady. I'm just here to play my game. He turned away, taking a deep breath to steady himself as the whistle blew, signaling the start of the tournament. With each bounce of the basketball, he felt the weight of his community's expectations resting on his shoulders. Meanwhile, Ethan Mallory stood at a distance, watching the game unfold. He had arrived in Chicago seeking a distraction from his own grief, but as he observed the young players, he felt a spark of hope ignite within him. The raw talent of Darnell captivated him, and he couldn't help but admire the determination etched on the boy's face. Despite being surrounded by wealth and comfort, Ethan felt a deep sense of emptiness, a void left by the death of his wife. In that moment, he realized that perhaps he had come to Chicago not just for escapism but to find a purpose again. As the first half of the game progressed, Darnell's speed and agility shone through. He maneuvered past defenders with grace, sinking baskets one after the other, but in the back of his mind, he was aware of Marcus lurking, waiting for an opportunity to strike. The tension escalated when Marcus, frustrated by Darnell's success, began to play dirty. He elbowed Darnell in the ribs during a rebound, causing Darnell to stumble. You think you can just waltz in here and take my spotlight? Marcus sneered, his breath hot with contempt. Darnell gritted his teeth, feeling the pain but refusing to show weakness. I'm not taking anything that's yours, Marcus. I'm just playing my game, he shot back, determination blazing in his eyes. He had to rise above the petty rivalries. His dreams were too important to be derailed by spiteful comments. After the game, as the crowd dispersed, Ethan approached Darnell, who was catching his breath on the sidelines. You played an incredible game out there, Ethan said, admiration evident in his voice. You've got real talent. Darnell looked up, surprised but skeptical. He had encountered many who praised him but often had ulterior motives. Thanks. But I'm just trying to make it out of here, he replied cautiously. Ethan's expression softened. I can help you with that. I know what it's like to feel lost and aimless. If you're willing, I'd like to offer you some training to help you hone your skills further. Darnell narrowed his eyes, weighing the offer. Why would you want to help me? He asked, suspicion creeping into his voice. Ethan sighed, the weight of his own sorrow heavy on his shoulders. Because I see potential in you that I once had, and I lost it all. I want to help you find your path, wherever it may lead. Darnell studied Ethan's earnest gaze, sensing the sincerity behind his words. After a moment of silence, he nodded slowly. All right, I'll give it a shot. But I'm not sure what you can teach me. Trust me, Ethan replied, a hint of a smile breaking through. It's not just about basketball, it's about discipline, strategy, and believing in yourself. As they shook hands, Darnell felt a flicker of hope, a new beginning that might just change the course of his life. Darnell stood on the worn-out basketball court, feeling the sun beat down on his back as he caught his breath. It was a new day, and with Ethan's support, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The echo of the basketball bouncing against the cracked pavement filled the air, a rhythm that had been a constant in his life. But this time, there was something different, a sense of hope. Ethan had agreed to train him, and Darnell was ready to embrace the challenge. As Darnell began his warm-up, he could see Ethan leaning against the chain-link fence, arms crossed, watching him intently. The man's presence was both comforting and intimidating. He had wealth and resources, yet he was here, in this neighborhood, investing his time in a kid like him. Darnell wiped the sweat from his brow and approached Ethan. Ready to get started? Darnell asked, a hint of nervousness in his voice. Ethan uncrossed his arms and smiled. Absolutely. Let's see what you've got. They started with basic drills, but Darnell quickly realized that Ethan had a keen eye for detail. As they moved through the exercises, Ethan offered feedback and encouragement. Keep your knees bent, Darnell. Stay low and explosive, he instructed. demonstrating the stance himself. Darnell nodded, feeling the weight of Ethan's words. "What about you? You used to play?" he asked. Curious about the man who seemed to have everything but was now searching for something more. Ethan hesitated for a moment, the shadow of his late wife flickering in his mind. "I played a bit in college," he replied, his tone distant. "But life took me in a different direction after that." "Yeah, I get it. Sometimes I feel like I'm stuck here. Like I need to break out or something," Darnell confessed, a vulnerability creeping into his voice. "Then let's break those barriers together," Ethan said, his eyes lighting up with determination. "You have talent, Darnell. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." As the training session went on, Darnell felt a strange connection forming with Ethan. It was as if they were both searching for something they had lost, Darnell for a way out of his circumstances, and Ethan for a way to find meaning again. The next day, as they trained, Darnell noticed Marcus lurking nearby, a sneer plastered on his face. Darnell could feel the tension in the air as Marcus approached, his presence a dark cloud over the court. "Look who's got a sugar daddy now," Marcus mocked, arms crossed. "What's he paying you to train? A new pair of sneakers?" Darnell clenched his fists, trying to ignore the taunts. "I don't need your approval, Marcus. I'm doing this for me," he replied, trying to sound confident. Ethan stepped forward, sensing the hostility. "Marcus, this isn't the place for that. Darnell is working hard to better himself. Maybe you should try it too," he suggested, his voice steady but firm. Marcus glared at Ethan. "And what do you know about hard work? You've never had to struggle a day in your life," he shot back, his anger palpable. "I'm not afraid of you, Marcus. Keep talking, and you'll see what I'm capable of," he declared. Surprising himself with his own bravery, Ethan placed a reassuring hand on Darnell's shoulder. "You're stronger than you think," he said quietly, his support giving Darnell the strength to stand his ground. After Marcus left, Darnell took a deep breath. "Thanks for stepping in, but I can handle him. I've been dealing with guys like him my whole life," he said, trying to brush off the confrontation. "I know you can," Ethan replied. "But you don't have to do it alone. That's what friends are for." The conversation lingered in Darnell's mind, planting the seed of something he had always yearned for, a mentor, a friend, someone who believed in him. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the court, Darnell felt a shift within himself. He wasn't just training, he was building a future. The drive to succeed now had a name, a face, and a purpose. Ethan was not just helping him with basketball, he was helping him navigate life. Later that evening, Ethan returned to his home, where his daughter sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone. He could sense the tension in the air. "Hey, how was your day?" he asked, trying to break the ice. "It was fine," she replied, not looking up. "Are you still busy with that kid, Darnell? I just don't get it, Dad. Darnell's got potential, and I see a lot of myself in him," Ethan explained, hoping to bridge the gap between them. "He's fighting against a lot of odds, and I want to help him." She sighed, finally looking at him. "But what about us? You're never around anymore. I'm trying to find a way to heal, just like you are. Darnell needs someone to believe in him. And I want to be that person," he admitted, his voice filled with sincerity. His daughter softened, realizing that her father was struggling too. "I just want you to be happy, Dad," she said quietly. "I am happy when I'm helping others. And I want to help you too," he promised, hoping to mend the rift between them. Ethan knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to reconnect with his daughter while also supporting Darnell. Both were on their journeys of healing, and perhaps, together, they could find a way to overcome their losses. In the dim light of the gym, the echo of sneakers squeaking against the polished hardwood floor filled the air as Darnell and Ethan wrapped up another intense training session. Darnell, his brow glistening with sweat, sank onto the bleachers, panting heavily. Ethan, slightly out of breath, leaned against the wall, watching the young prodigy with a mixture of admiration and concern. "Darnell," Ethan began, his voice steady, "you've got incredible talent. But talent alone isn't enough. You need to understand the game beyond just shooting hoops. Darnell wiped his brow with the back of his hand and looked up at Ethan. His expression a mix of frustration and determination. I know, but sometimes it's hard to focus with everything going on. My friends, my family, they're all counting on me. I feel like I have to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. Ethan nodded, his heart aching for the boy. He could see the strain in Darnell's eyes, the pressure of expectations weighing heavily on him. I lost my wife, and for a long time, I felt lost myself. I felt like I had no purpose. But then I realized that it's not about what you've lost, it's about what you can still achieve. You have a chance to inspire others. To be a beacon of hope. Darnell leaned back, contemplating Ethan's words. You really think I can do that? Be an inspiration? Absolutely, Ethan replied, his voice rising with passion. You have a gift, Darnell. And with that gift comes the responsibility to use it wisely. Not just for yourself, but for your community. You can show them what's possible. The young athlete's eyes sparkled with a flicker of hope. Maybe I can help the kids in my neighborhood. They look up to me, you know? If I get a scholarship, maybe I can change things for us. That's the spirit, Ethan exclaimed, excitement bubbling within him. Let's make it happen. I can help you. I have connections, and together we can create opportunities not just for you, but for many others like you. Darnell's mind raced with possibilities. What do you mean? He leaned forward, intrigued. Ethan took a deep breath, sensing the importance of his next words. I want to start a scholarship program for young athletes. There are so many talented kids out there who just need a chance. With your story, we can inspire others to invest in their futures. Wow, Darnell said, his voice barely above a whisper. You really think I could help that much? Of course, Ethan responded, a warm smile spreading across his face. Your journey can be the foundation of something great. You already have the community behind you, and I can bring in the resources. It's time to turn your dreams into reality. Darnell stood up, his energy revitalized. Let's do it. I want to start working on my game plan, and I want to help others too. I can't let my mom down. I need to show her that I can make it. As they spoke, a bond began to form between them. One based on shared struggles and aspirations. Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose, and Darnell discovered a mentor who believed in him. Okay, Ethan said, growing serious. But first, we need to prepare you mentally and physically for the challenges ahead. It won't be easy, but I know you have what it takes. Darnell nodded, determination etched on his face. I'm ready. I'll do whatever it takes. I want this more than anything. Then let's get started, Ethan replied, a sense of excitement coursing through him. We'll work on your skills, your strategy, and most importantly, your mindset. You have to believe in yourself, Darnell. That's the first step. As they resumed their training, the atmosphere shifted. Darnell moved with renewed vigor. Each dribble and shot infused with purpose. Ethan watched closely, offering guidance and encouragement. Knowing that they were not just building a future for Darnell, but also forging a path for countless others who dared to dream. With every session, they were not just preparing for games, they were preparing for life, together. As the sun dipped below the skyline of Chicago, casting a warm, golden hue over the basketball court, the excitement of the upcoming game loomed over him, but so did the weight of expectation from his community and family. He could almost hear the whispers of encouragement and pressure mingling in the air, like the rustle of leaves in the wind. Darnell wiped the sweat from his brow, taking a deep breath to steady himself. Are you ready for this, Darnell? One of his friends, Malik, asked, bouncing a basketball nervously on the ground. The sound echoed in the stillness, breaking the tension. You've got this, man. Just remember what we practiced. Yeah, I know, Darnell replied, forcing a smile. I can't let them down. My mom is counting on me. His voice betrayed a hint of vulnerability that he usually kept hidden behind a facade of confidence. As he spoke, he noticed Ethan Mallory standing at the sidelines, his presence a grounding force amidst the chaos in Darnell's mind. The billionaire had been more than a mentor, he had become a friend. You're going to do great out there, Darnell, Ethan said, placing a hand on the teenager's shoulder. Just focus on the game. I just wish I could shake this feeling. It's like everyone's counting on me to be their hero. Ethan chuckled lightly. What matters is how you bounce back. He glanced towards the other side of the court, where Marcus, Darnell's rival, was warming up with his own team. A pang of anxiety washed over Darnell as he watched Marcus's smug expression. Look at him, Darnell muttered, his brows furrowing. He's just waiting for me to mess up so he can gloat. Let him try, Ethan replied, a fire igniting in his eyes. You have something that Marcus doesn't, heart. Use that. Play for yourself, for your family, and for everyone who believes in you. Taking a deep breath, Darnell glanced back at his friends, who were cheering him on. He could feel the support wrapping around him like a warm blanket, momentarily easing the tightness in his chest. All right, I'll do my best, he said, determination replacing doubt in his voice. As the whistle blew, signaling the start of the game, Darnell stepped onto the court, his heart racing in sync with the thumping beat of the music blaring from the speakers. The crowd erupted in cheers, and he felt the adrenaline coursing through his veins. He was ready. He had to be ready. The game began, and Darnell quickly found his rhythm, weaving through players with grace and agility. He scored the first basket, the net swishing in a sweet echo that fueled his confidence. But as the game progressed, Marcus began to play dirty, pushing Darnell in an attempt to rattle him. Every time Darnell was about to make a play, Marcus was there, a thorn in his side, taunting him with every move. You think you're hot stuff, Carter? Marcus sneered during a timeout, his voice dripping with disdain. You'll never be good enough to take me down. Darnell clenched his fists, the anger bubbling beneath the surface. I'm not trying to take you down, Marcus. I just want to play my game. Good luck with that, Marcus shot back, swaggering away as the referee called the teams back onto the court. Despite the pressure and the distractions, Darnell focused on Ethan's words. He played with heart, channeling the support of his friends, his family, and the community behind him. He made another shot, this time a three-pointer that brought the crowd to its feet. But with each point he scored, Marcus responded with a foul, determined to undermine Darnell's confidence. As halftime approached, Darnell found himself panting heavily, sweat dripping down his face. He caught Ethan's eye from across the court. Ethan raised a fist, a silent encouragement that made Darnell feel invincible. But as the buzzer sounded, signaling the end of the first half, Darnell couldn't shake the feeling of Marcus's hostility weighing him down. Keep your head up, Darnell, Malik said as they gathered for a quick huddle. We've got this. Just play your game. Yeah, I'll try, Darnell replied. But the doubt lingered. He knew that to win, he would need to not only overcome his rival but also his own fears. As the second half began, he took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. As tension-filled moments of the game hung thick in the air as Darnell positioned himself on the court, his heart racing. He could feel the weight of his community's expectations pressing down on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. Every cheer and shout from the stands echoed in his mind, reminding him of the hopes he carried, not just for himself but for his family. Just moments before the game began, he glanced towards the sidelines where his mother stood, her face a mixture of pride and anxiety. He wanted to make her proud, to show her that all the sacrifices they had made were worth it. The whistle blew, and the game erupted into chaos. Darnell moved fluidly across the court, his body a blur as he dodged defenders and executed plays he had practiced tirelessly. Every jump shot and layup was met with roars of encouragement from his friends and neighbors. But amidst the cheers, there was Marcus, his rival. The tension between them was palpable, an electric current that charged the air. Marcus had a reputation for playing dirty, and Darnell could see the glint of determination in his eyes. As the game progressed, Marcus began to close in on Darnell, throwing sharp elbows and using every trick in the book to throw him off his game. You think you're the star now, Carter? Marcus taunted, his voice dripping with malice as he pushed Darnell. Let's see how you handle the pressure. Darnell clenched his jaw, trying to focus on his game, but Marcus's words gnawed at him. He had worked so hard to get to this moment, and he couldn't let someone like Marcus ruin it for him. "I'm not backing down," he muttered under his breath as he dribbled the ball, determination burning in his chest. "Ethan." He sensed that his young friend was on the brink of a breakthrough, or a breakdown. As Darnell received the ball for a critical play, he felt a rush of adrenaline and fear. He had to keep his head in the game. He had to show everyone that he belonged here. But as he drove towards the basket, Marcus collided with him, sending Darnell tumbling to the floor. The crowd gasped, and for a split second, time stood still. Darnell lay there, stunned, his breath knocked out of him. The world around him faded, and all he could hear was the pounding of his own heart. What if this was it? What if he couldn't get back up? Then he heard a voice, cutting through the haze. "Get up, Darnell." It was Ethan, his tone filled with urgency. "Remember why you started playing? Remember your dreams?" Darnell's eyes fluttered open, and the words resonated deep within him. He had a choice to make. He could let the pain and fear consume him, or he could fight back. With every ounce of strength he could muster, he pushed himself up off the court. "I'm not done yet," he shouted, his voice ringing with newfound determination. With the crowd roaring in support, Darnell steadied himself, taking a moment to breathe deeply. He felt the adrenaline surge through his veins as he focused on the game ahead. The whistle blew again, and he was back in the action, his mind clearer than ever. As the clock wound down, Darnell saw his opportunity. The ball came to him, and in that moment, he felt a rush of clarity. He dribbled past Marcus, who was still trying to rattle him, and leapt into the air for a shot. Time seemed to slow as he released the ball, watching it soar towards the hoop. The ball swished through the net, and the crowd erupted in cheers. But in the midst of his triumph, Darnell landed awkwardly, his ankle twisting painfully beneath him. He crumpled to the ground, a sharp cry escaping his lips as he clutched his leg. "Darnell!" Ethan shouted, rushing onto the court as the players gathered around him. The cheers faded into worried murmurs as the reality of the situation set in. Darnell was hurt, but he had made the shot that had secured their victory. As he lay there, the adrenaline fading, he felt a wave of emotions wash over him, pride, pain, and a fierce determination that he would not let this injury define him. He had fought hard to get here, and he would continue to fight, no matter what came next. As days passed in the bustling city of Chicago, the atmosphere in Darnell Carter's hospital room shifted from one of despair to a tentative hope. The young basketball prodigy lay in his bed, his leg elevated and wrapped in a thick cast, while the sun streamed through the window, casting a warm glow on the walls decorated with colorful sports posters. Despite the pain, Darnell's spirit remained unbroken, bolstered by the unwavering support of his community and newfound mentor, Ethan Mallory. Ethan, a wealthy businessman grappling with his own grief, had become a frequent visitor to Darnell's hospital room. He arrived one afternoon with a bright smile and a basket of fruit, a gesture that was both simple and heartfelt. "Hey, champ, I thought you could use a little something to brighten your day," he said, placing the basket on the bedside table. Darnell looked up, his expression softening. "Thanks, Mr. Mallory. You didn't have to do this," he replied, trying to suppress a wince as he shifted to a more comfortable position. "Please, call me Ethan. We're friends now, right?" Ethan chuckled, pulling up a chair beside the bed. "Besides, I'm here to help you. Not just with basketball but with whatever you need while you recover." "How are you feeling?" Darnell hesitated, his gaze drifting to the window, where kids were playing basketball in the nearby park. "I'm okay, I guess. Just frustrated. I get it. It's tough to be sidelined, especially when you have so much potential. But you have to focus on healing first. Your time will come again, Darnell. We'll make sure of that." Their conversation flowed easily, shifting from basketball to life lessons. Darnell shared his dreams of earning a scholarship, his desire to be a role model for kids in his neighborhood, and the pressure he felt to support his family. "Sometimes, it feels like the whole world is on my shoulders," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Ethan leaned in, his eyes filled with empathy. "I know how that feels. After losing my wife, I thought I could never find purpose again." But then I met you, and you reminded me of what it means to fight for something. You're not alone in this, Darnell. We're in it together. Meanwhile, Ethan's daughter, Lily, had been struggling with her own emotions since her mother's passing. She watched her father from a distance, torn between her feelings of resentment towards him and her desire to see him happy again. One afternoon, she mustered the courage to approach Darnell's room, hoping to understand her father's connection to the young athlete. "Hey," Lily said awkwardly, standing in the doorway with her arms crossed. "Are you Darnell?" Darnell looked up, surprised. "Yeah, that's me. And you're Ethan's daughter, right?" "Lily," she replied, taking a few hesitant steps inside. "I heard a lot about you. My dad talks about you all the time." Darnell chuckled lightly. "I hope it's all good things." She smiled shyly, before her expression turned serious. "I just wanted to see how you're doing. I know my dad cares about you. And I wanted to know why." Darnell paused, contemplating how to answer. "He's been helping me a lot. I mean, not just with basketball, but with everything. It's nice to have someone believe in you, you know?" Lily nodded, intrigued. "I wish I could see him like that. Sometimes, it feels like he's not really there for me since, you know." "I get it," Darnell said sincerely. "But he's trying, just like you are. Maybe you can help each other heal." "Maybe," she mused, a hint of a smile breaking through her uncertainty. "I could help you with your rehab. You know, keep you company while you're stuck here." Darnell brightened at the idea. "That would be awesome. It'd be great to have someone to talk to while I work on getting better." As the days went on, Darnell and Lily formed an unexpected friendship, both finding solace in their shared struggles. Their bond encouraged Darnell to push through his physical therapy with renewed determination. "Just think about getting back on the court." "Thanks, Lily. I really appreciate your support," he said, panting slightly. "It means a lot." Ethan, proud of the connection forming between his daughter and Darnell, continued to work on his scholarship program, determined to ensure that Darnell's talent wouldn't go to waste. He often discussed plans with Darnell during his visits, eager to see the young athlete thrive. "Once you're back on your feet, we'll launch this program, and it'll change lives," he said, enthusiasm lighting up his face. Darnell felt a rush of hope. "I want to be there when it happens. I want to show everyone that dreams can come true, no matter where you come from." "Then we'll make it happen," Ethan affirmed, clapping a hand on Darnell's shoulder. "You're not just fighting for yourself anymore. You're fighting for everyone who believes in you." In those moments of camaraderie and shared goals, the seeds of a new life were sown. And despite the challenges ahead, Darnell felt more ready than ever to face the future. Darnell lay on the hospital bed, his leg elevated and wrapped in thick bandages, a constant reminder of the game that had pushed him to his limits. The dim light of the room filtered through the window, casting shadows that danced on the walls, reflecting the turmoil in his mind. Despite the pain and uncertainty of his recovery, he felt a fire igniting within him. The upcoming scholarship event loomed in his thoughts, and he knew he had to be there, not just for himself, but for the community that had rallied around him. "I can't just sit here," he muttered to himself, glancing at the crutches propped against the wall. The metallic clank echoed his determination. Just then, a soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Ethan opened the door and stepped inside, his expression a mix of concern and encouragement. "Hey, champ, how are you feeling today?" Ethan asked, pulling up a chair next to Darnell's bed. His usual polished demeanor was softened by the lines of worry etched on his face. "I'm ready to get out of here," Darnell replied, his voice firm despite the twinge of pain that shot through his leg. "I have to be at the event. I need to show everyone that I'm not giving up." Ethan nodded, his brow furrowing thoughtfully. "I know how important this is to you. But you have to make sure you're ready. You don't want to push yourself too hard." Darnell sighed, frustration evident in his tone. "I can't let them down. I promised my mom I'd make something of myself. I can't just sit here while they're out there waiting for me." Ethan leaned forward, his eyes earnest. "Darnell, you've already inspired so many people just by being you. You don't have to be on the court to show them your strength. Just being there will mean a lot." The words settled within Darnell, and he took a deep breath. You're right. But I want to do more than just show up. I want to speak. I want them to hear my story. Then let's make that happen, Ethan said, a smile breaking through his concern. I'll help you prepare. We can work on your speech together. As the days passed, Darnell's determination only grew. With Ethan by his side, he practiced speaking in front of the mirror, rehearsing the words that would echo in the auditorium filled with young athletes and their families. Each time he spoke, he felt the weight of his journey, his struggles, his triumphs, and the unwavering support from his community. On the day of the event, Darnell could feel the electric atmosphere as he arrived at the venue, crutches in hand. The room was buzzing with excitement, the chatter of families and sponsors creating a symphony of hope and anticipation. Ethan stood at the front, adjusting the microphone while glancing back at Darnell, who was slowly making his way through the crowd. Look at you, Ethan remarked with pride as Darnell approached. You're going to be amazing. Darnell smiled, though his heart raced with nerves. What if I mess up? You won't. Just speak from your heart. That's all anyone wants to hear, Ethan reassured him, placing a hand on his shoulder. When it was finally time for Darnell to take the stage, he felt a rush of emotions. The crowd fell silent as he hobbled to the front, the spotlight illuminating his face. He paused for a moment, taking in the sea of faces, some familiar, some new, all there to support him. Hi, everyone, Darnell began, his voice steady. I'm Darnell Carter, and I'm here to share my story with you. A story of struggle, hope, and community. The audience leaned in, captivated. Darnell continued, I grew up in a neighborhood where dreams often feel out of reach. Every day, I felt the pressure to succeed. Not just for me, but for my family. When I got hurt, I thought I had let everyone down. But I realized that it's not just about winning games, it's about the people who stand by you through thick and thin. He glanced at Ethan, who nodded encouragingly from the side. And I want to thank someone very special, Ethan Mallory, who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. He's shown me that support can come from the most unexpected places. The crowd erupted in applause, and Darnell felt a swell of gratitude. I'm here to encourage all of you to chase your dreams, no matter how tough the road may get. Because it's not just about the game, it's about the journey, the people you meet, and the community that lifts you up. As he finished, the applause grew louder, echoing in his ears. Darnell felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. He had shared his truth, and in that moment, he knew he was not alone. He was part of something bigger, a community ready to support one another, no matter the challenges ahead. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the city of Chicago, Darnell Carter sat on the steps of the community center, staring out at the bustling streets. It had been a transformative evening, one that would linger in his memory for years to come. The event had been a resounding success, and he couldn't help but reflect on how far he had come. Ethan Mallory approached, his stride purposeful and confident. The once grieving millionaire now wore a smile that radiated hope and satisfaction. Hey, Darnell, he said, taking a seat beside him. You were incredible up there. I don't think there was a dry eye in the room. Darnell chuckled, feeling a mix of pride and humility. Thanks, Ethan. I just spoke from the heart. I wanted everyone to know that they're not alone, that they can overcome their struggles. Just like I did. Ethan nodded, looking out at the street where young kids played basketball, their laughter echoing through the air. You've become a beacon of hope for this community, you know? I didn't just see a young athlete tonight. I saw someone who has the power to inspire change. Turning slightly to face Ethan, Darnell's eyes gleamed with determination. It's not just me, it's all of us. We're a team. The support from you, my friends, my family, it made this happen. I want to make sure that no one else has to go through what I did alone. Exactly, Ethan replied, his voice brimming with conviction. That's why I'm committed to expanding the scholarship program. We can help so many more kids like you. Really? You mean it? Darnell's heart raced at the thought. That could change lives. Absolutely, Ethan affirmed, leaning in closer. But I can't do it alone. I need your voice. your story to rally more support. Together, we can create something that resonates throughout the city. Darnell's mind raced with possibilities. The image of kids in his neighborhood, just like him, getting the chance to chase their dreams filled him with resolve. I'd love to help, but what about Marcus? He's been a rival, and I don't know if he'll ever really change. Ethan leaned back, contemplating Darnell's concern. People can surprise you. He may have acted out of jealousy or insecurity. If you're willing to give him a chance, you might find a friend where you least expect it. Darnell took a deep breath, the weight of the past lingering in his mind. Maybe you're right. I don't want to carry anger with me. But it's hard to trust. Trust is earned, not given, Ethan wisely stated. But think about the impact you could have. Forgiveness can be just as powerful as success on the court. As they sat in comfortable silence, Darnell's thoughts turned to the journey that lay ahead. I just want to make my mom proud. She's sacrificed so much for me. And you will, Ethan reassured him. You're already doing it. Just look at all those kids who looked up to you tonight. You're creating a legacy. Darnell felt a swell of gratitude toward Ethan, who had become more than just a mentor. He was now a friend, a father figure in many ways. I never expected this kind of support from someone like you. It's changed everything. Ethan smiled softly. You're worth it. Darnell, we all have the power to change lives. Yours is just beginning to unfold. Just then, a shadow loomed over them, and Darnell looked up to see Marcus standing there, uncertainty etched across his face. Darnell, he began hesitantly. Can we talk? Darnell exchanged a quick glance with Ethan, who nodded subtly, encouraging him. He took a breath and replied, Sure. Marcus, what's up? I wanted to apologize, Marcus stammered, rubbing the back of his neck. I was a jerk. I let my jealousy get the best of me, and I see now how wrong I was to treat you that way. You've done something amazing, man. I respect that. Darnell felt a mix of emotions, anger, confusion, but mostly, an opportunity for growth. I appreciate you saying that, Marcus. It wasn't easy for me either. I just want us all to rise together. Yeah, Marcus nodded, relief washing over his features. I'd like that. As the three of them stood there, a sense of camaraderie began to form. Darnell realized that this was just the beginning. Together, they could create a community of growth, understanding, and support. The journey ahead was uncertain, but with friends like Ethan and perhaps even Marcus, he felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The atmosphere in the gym was electric, a mix of anticipation and excitement as the final game of the season approached. Darnell Carter stood on the court, feeling the weight of the community's hopes resting on his shoulders. The bleachers were packed with families, friends, and supporters, all eager to witness a culmination of their collective efforts. Darnell glanced at the crowd, spotting his mother waving a handmade banner, her face beaming with pride. He felt a surge of motivation. As the game began, it quickly became clear that Darnell and Marcus were no longer rivals but allies. Their chemistry on the court had improved remarkably. As they executed plays with precision, Darnell dribbled the ball down the court, weaving between defenders, while Marcus positioned himself for an open shot. On your left, Darnell shouted, and without hesitation, he passed the ball to Marcus. With a swift motion, Marcus sank a three-pointer, and the crowd erupted in cheers. Nice shot, Marcus, Darnell called out, a grin spreading across his face. The tension that once existed between them had dissolved into trust and camaraderie. They were playing for more than just themselves. They were playing for their community, for Ethan, and for each other. As the game progressed, the scoreboard reflected a tight match. The opposing team fought fiercely, but Darnell and Marcus were relentless. Every basket felt like a testament to their growth, not only as players but as young men who had battled their personal demons. Darnell could feel Ethan's eyes on him from the sidelines, his presence a constant source of encouragement. Let's push through, Darnell, Ethan shouted, his voice rising above the noise. You've got this. With seconds left on the clock and the score tied, the tension was palpable. Darnell took a deep breath, recalling the countless hours of practice and the support from Ethan and his friends. He dribbled the ball, scanning the court for an opening. "Marcus, get ready," he yelled, as he made his move toward the basket. Just then, Marcus found himself double-teamed, and Darnell realized he had no choice but to take the shot himself. With a swift pivot, he launched the ball towards the hoop. Time seemed to slow as the crowd collectively held its breath. The ball arched beautifully through the air and swished through the net, an incredible three-pointer that secured their victory. The gym erupted into a deafening roar of cheers, celebration, and disbelief. But in the midst of the jubilation, Darnell lost his footing, tumbling to the ground with a pained grunt. The exhilaration of the win quickly transformed into concern as his teammates rushed to his side. "Darnell, are you all right?" Marcus exclaimed, worry etched on his face. "I'm fine," Darnell managed to say, though he grimaced as he tried to stand. The sharp pain in his ankle made him falter, but he refused to let it dampen his spirit. As he was helped up by his friends, he looked around at the crowd, who were chanting his name. "This is what we worked for," he shouted, his voice rising above the noise. "We did it together." Ethan made his way onto the court, beaming with pride. "You were incredible, Darnell. You showed everyone what it means to rise above." He pulled Darnell into a heartfelt embrace. The two of them momentarily lost in the joy of the moment. As the celebration continued, Darnell spotted Ethan's daughter, who had been cheering loudly with her friends. She rushed over, her eyes wide with admiration. "You were amazing, Darnell. I can't believe you nailed that shot." "Thanks. But it was a team effort," he replied, smiling at her enthusiasm. "You guys inspired me to push through." Later, as the gym began to empty, Darnell, Ethan, and Marcus found a quiet corner to reflect on the day. "I never thought I'd be playing side by side with you, Darnell," Marcus said, his voice sincere. "I'm sorry for everything before. I really want to do better." Darnell nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "We all have our struggles. It's about how we move forward that counts." Ethan chimed in, "And you both have shown that true victory isn't just about winning games. It's about overcoming obstacles and helping each other grow." As they stood together, Darnell felt a profound sense of belonging. The journey they had embarked on, filled with challenges, growth, and newfound friendships, had transformed them all. With the support of his community, Ethan, and even Marcus, Darnell realized that this was just the beginning. Together, they had discovered the true essence of family, love, and resilience.